We want to turn now to young voters. Gen Z and millennials heavily courted by both campaigns. Gen Z specifically is considered the most racially diverse voting bloc and tend to vote Democrat. I checked in with a few young voters who are politically engaged. Do they think it's fair that some are calling them fickle? Also, something caught me by surprise as I worked to set up this story. If you have any doubt how important the youth vote is to both campaigns, just rewind to the Republican and Democratic national conventions this past summer.
You're going to be the generation that actually saves this country. You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative.
As the saying goes, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So Gen Z, let's take our seat in our democracy and cast our ballots.
Gen Z and millennials combined, 18 to 43 years old, now make up the largest voting bloc in U.S. history at 48.5%. That's according to Rock the Vote. 16 million are now reportedly eligible to vote in their first presidential election.
Are you registered to vote?
Are you registered to vote?
These three University of Pennsylvania juniors
Yeah.
are part of that 16 million.
Blue up and down the ballot.
Our votes do really matter here, and I think that's the message that we're trying to send, and I think people have been receptive to that.
Yeah. You want a sticker?
They've also chosen to take leadership roles in Penn's Democratic group,
It's a nice day.
juggling schoolwork with driving voter turnout, canvassing, and meeting with Vice President Kamala Harris.
Try to eat vegetables when you can.
What are the most important issues for you?
So my big three are climate change, gun control, and reproductive rights. Reproductive rights or LGBTQ rights are kind of, equally important. So maybe big four.
It's the same, like climate change, gun control, reproductive rights.
For Philadelphia's young Republicans, they've also been knocking on doors, registering voters, and hosting debate watch parties. Their average member is in their early 30s, millennials. What are the most important issues for you?
Well, I think, for me, like a lot of people, it's the economy. We've seen high inflation now for several years. A lot of this was caused directly by the policies of the Biden-Harris administration and the money that they pumped into the system. Right now, there's a lot of young people in Philadelphia and elsewhere in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that are feeling that pressure. They're starting their careers and their dollars are not going as far.
But will these hot-button issues be enough to drive tens of millions of young voters to the polls? Historically, they don't show up en masse like the older age groups. They've been called fickle because they're not a reliable age group to actually show up to the polls. So what do you make of that description?
I don't think it's fair. I think it would be fair to say that we're disillusioned and that there's a reason why people kind of feel like they don't want to turn out or like they're not inspired by what's going on in the government at the moment.
I think that's definitely something that applies to your college-age voters. But what I will say is we're seeing a lot of support right now for President Trump on college campuses, particularly among the young men. Will that translate into votes on Election Day? We'll see on the day after.
Both groups are feeling the heat to turn out the youth vote.
Okay. There will be other opportunities.
Whether they consider this combative political season normal depends on who you ask.
This is a high-profile election. It's a presidential year. We have a Senate race which, frankly, could decide the balance of power in the United States Senate right here. I would say this is normal.
We agree on certain things, and we're not that far away, but things have gotten so extreme and so crazy, and I think that's kind of what pushed us to get so involved, is that, the other side, Donald Trump's America is so scary to us, so, we want to do everything we can.
Two generations definitely worth watching. And now to the surprise I encountered while trying to set up interviews for this story. Turns out a lot of Gen Z Republicans on college campuses are adverse to speaking with the media on camera and being identified as Republican. I reached out to 7 college Republican clubs over 2 weeks, and only 2 responded. While they, as the leaders, were willing to talk with us, both admitted their members felt uncomfortable. One president saying it was due to hostilities of political partisanship. 3 other young Republican groups never responded at all. We'll be right back.